Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
After cartel chaos calms in Mexico, all major Canadian airlines have resumed their flights to Puerto Vallarta. Hi, I'm Virjesh Dave. This is Big Headlines, everything you need to know to be in the know in just 5 minutes. Air Canada, WestJet, Air Transat, and Porter are all resuming flights to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico today. Widespread violence led airlines to temporarily suspend service to and from the popular Western Mexico resort city since the weekend. Global Affairs Canada is still advising a high degree of caution, though, in Mexico following the death of a notorious cartel leader in a Mexican government operation. It also means thousands of Canadians stranded in Puerto Vallarta will now be able to return home after being told by the Canadian government to shelter in place. Global Affairs says there were no new security incidents yesterday, but there is a possibility of more to come. Air Canada says it's using larger planes for these trips to carry more passengers. The Mexican president says there was greater calm in Mexico on Monday, a day after violence erupted following the killing of that drug lord known as El Mencho. Members of the cartel fought back against Mexican authorities in the streets after El Mencho was killed in a shootout near Puerto Vallarta on Sunday. On today's episode of The Big Story, host Maria Castaigne speaks to Jerry Flores, sociology professor at the University of Toronto.
How does the work of local law enforcement play a role in these killings and sanctioning of these cartels? What is the impact of local police in these situations?
Local law enforcement are in a very, very difficult situation. So they are provided little to no resources, very, very little pay, and they're supposed to tackle these massive problems. And oftentimes, if they fight back against corruption or against attempted bribes, they are murdered. So what ends up happening is they're stuck in a real situation. They can leave, they can go to a different town. Some of them can make a stand on their own and say, no, I'm not going to be a part of this. But they will be targeted, they will be taken away, or they will eventually either disappear or be found dead. It's a really sticky situation, and it's not a secret that local police departments are rife with corruption. They're sort of like narco-trafficking plants in there, so it's just really hard. And I actually think El Mencho was briefly a part of the police in Jalisco, one of the municipal polices. So there you have it.
You can listen to the full episode wherever you get your podcasts. Representatives of OpenAI are meeting in Ottawa today to discuss safety concerns after a report emerged about the Tumbler Ridge shooter's engagement with the company's chatbot ChatGPT. The Wall Street Journal reported on Friday that 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar's account was banned last June after it was flagged for troubling posts, including some that included scenarios of gun violence. While the report says employees considered alerting authorities, OpenAI says the posts didn't meet the threshold required to inform police because they didn't include credible or imminent plans. Artificial Intelligence Minister Evan Solomon says he's deeply disturbed by the reports, and he contacted the company over the weekend to get more information and to arrange a meeting. He says he expects the company's top safety representatives to explain its protocols and how exactly it decides which cases will be forwarded to law enforcement. Investigators say the shooter killed her mother and 11-year-old half-brother at their home on February 10th before going to Tumbler Ridge Secondary School and killing 5 students, an educational assistant, and then herself. Also making big headlines, today marks 4 years since Russia launched its full-scale invasion into Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended a prayer service before laying flowers at a memorial in central Kyiv in honor of the 55,000 Ukrainian soldiers killed in the fighting. In a speech to Parliament, Zelensky says Ukraine wants a strong, dignified, and lasting peace, but Russian President Vladimir Putin's only goal has been war since 1999.
Russia started with a war in Chechnya, then moved on to Georgia and openly disrespects the independence of all its neighbors except China and North Korea.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is promising $2 billion in military aid for Ukraine and more sanctions against Russia. Carney says these efforts are being done in collaboration with European allies he spoke with this morning.
The coalition of the willing stands with Ukraine. We're in it for the long haul. Russia is failing. the sooner they come to the table and actually participate in peace negotiations, the better it will be.
Canada has committed billions of dollars in assistance since the war began in 2022, including $6.5 billion in military aid. United Nations estimates the war has been marked by Russian bombings of civilian targets and has killed 15,000 people, including over 760 children. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to deliver his first State of the Union address here in his second term tonight on Capitol Hill. ABC's Mary Bruce has a preview.
This is a chance for him to make his case about his sweeping policy goals directly to millions of Americans. It's likely the largest audience he's going to have ahead of the midterms, and it's a chance for him to sway skeptical voters. We know that he is going into this, based on our latest ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll, with a disapproval rating at 60%. That's an all-time high during his second term.
The address comes as U.S. lawmakers are still at an impasse over funding for the Department of Homeland Security amid the administration's immigration crackdown. The partial government shutdown began back on February 14th. Trump is set to speak at 8 Atlantic, 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific this evening. His speech is expected to run about 2 hours. The U.S. men's hockey team is facing backlash after a phone call with President Trump where they were invited to his State of the Union address. Following their gold medal win, the team laughed when Trump joked he would be impeached if he didn't invite the U.S. women's hockey team, who also won gold. The women's team later declined the president's invitation. However, they may have another place to celebrate their impressive achievement at the Olympics. Rapper Flavor Flav said on social media that if the team wants a real celebration, he'll host them in Vegas and do some nice dinners and shows. This drew the attention of StubHub and Alaska Air, who both expressed interest in helping out with the celebration. Flavor Flav extended the invitation to the U.S. bobsled and skeleton teams as he was their official hype man during the games. It's still unclear, though, if the U.S. women's hockey team will end up on the Vegas Strip with the rapper. Now you're in the know. Thank you for listening to Big Headlines. Make sure you follow, share, and review Big Headlines. Kate Hayes produced today's episode. Enrique Amaturo is our lead producer. I'm Virjesh Dave. Have an amazing day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.